Man, we just finished a full tape review of the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Bucks game from Sunday with the members of the Rockhound Detroit Lions channel. And I think that we could tell that something is definitely missing with Jared Goff. Something is off with this offense. And quite honestly, to me, it looks like it's Josh Reynolds, or the mystery of the X receiver, and why we haven't had one. We haven't had one step up this season. And quite honestly, I know some of you think that Josh Reynolds was a big reason why the Lions lost the NFC Championship game. And I will tell you affirmatively, I don't believe that that was ever truly the answer. I think there's a lot that went on in that game, but right now there's a lot that's not happening over the last 2 weeks. We squeaked out one versus the Rams. This last game was in our grasp, and we just couldn't get the ball out of the red zone and into the end zone on 7 different occasions. Only one time did the Detroit Lions get the ball into the end zone. That's a problem. If you're missing an X receiver, if you don't have somebody you can trust, you're not going to be able to take advantage of an opportunity when the opportunity presents itself and the defense puts the clamps on you and you just can't move the ball. So let me paint you a picture here. Josh Reynolds, through 2 games this season already with the Broncos, he already has 25% of the yards he had all 2023. He has 1/5 of the yards compared to last season, already through 2 games. Now, Reynolds almost put up 100 yards versus Pittsburgh this past weekend. He has 9 catches for 138 yards on the season. Nearly identical start to what he had in 2023 with the Detroit Lions, where he put up 9 catches for 146 yards, a difference of 8 yards. Mr. Dependable. That's why I know he calls himself the Mantis or whatever. I always called him Mr. Dependable. Now, Dan Campbell had said early in camp and all throughout camp, really, that he expected anyone, to step up and claim that open spot that was left by Josh Reynolds. After none of the receivers that, practiced with the Lions throughout the summer on the 90-man roster had stepped up, they had no choice but to insert Khalif Raymond as their third option, their third wide receiver. But Dan Campbell also alluded, like the very next week, that keeping Khalif Raymond on the field for an extended period of time with a higher, snap count was not ideal. That is not a good plan. And that is where a player like Josh Reynolds came into play for the Detroit Lions for the last few seasons. He would take up the snaps, right? He ran clean routes. He had a good relationship, very fluid relationship with Jared Goff, a very trusting relationship. Jared Goff had a lot of trust in Reynolds to run good routes, to be where he needed to be, and to be on time. The Lions are also missing height right now on this offense. This was a problem that dated all the way back to 2020. The Lions had a very short wide receiver room in 2021 and in 2022. The average height without Josh Reynolds this year is 5'11" for your game day roster. Without Josh Reynolds and without a Tim Patrick, is 5'11". Brown is 6'1", J-Mo's 6 foot, Khalif Raymond 5'8", making the Lions one of the smallest wide receiver groups yet again now in 2024. Whereas last season, we didn't have that problem. Tom Kennedy at 5'10" does not really help the situation. He's been active for the first 2 games here in 2024, elevated from the practice squad. Now, with Reynolds in the fold, he was another, 6'3", being added to this field. And he also plays multiple roles inside of this offense. Knew this offense very, very well. Again, a very dependable receiver for Jared Goff, an outlet valve, as you will. Many thought that Jameson Williams was just going to kind of fit in, right? Just be that answer and take up the snaps that, Josh Reynolds was leaving behind, put up the yards and the catches and the TDs that Josh Reynolds left behind. And that's fine. He can do that. It's expected of him to do that. But he's not the same type of receiver. And you just can't chuck the ball deep all the time. Unless Jameson is going to find ways to get open and run routes in the middle of this field or along the boundary and box out defenders, muscle his way on a curl route or an out route or whatever it is, fight for those 50-50 balls. He just can't do what Reynolds did. He can't do what Reynolds provided. Nor can anyone on the Lions starting roster do what Reynolds has provided. And I'm not just talking about sheer numbers here. I'm talking about the type of routes that he ran and the style of receiver that he was. Again, going deep on every play is easily defended at some points, right? I mean, we saw it on Sunday. You run deep for the first quarter, and next thing you know, they've got bracketed coverage over Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they're in a very thick zone, and you can't do anything. And you got to chuck the ball 55 times. And you can't throw the ball deep. It's not working, which limited Jameson Williams after that first amazing quarter that he had. And then here's the other thing, right? When a receiver makes no attempt to even set up for a pass across the middle of this defense, the defense just keys in on your routes. They know you're not going to go, you're not being targeted. And then they can bait the quarterback into making a very costly mistake or two or three. And that's what I witnessed after watching this tape, is that these receivers, they knew that they were, or even Sam Laporta knew that they weren't being targeted on these plays. And they're running with their heads down, right? Or looking forward. None of them are looking back for the ball. You're completely giving away the play of the defense. So there's a lot of things to clean up here, but this video is about Tim Patrick and why he's going to be a bigger part of this offense going forward and why the Lions need him to step up. Right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Khalif Raymond remain atop of the Lions depth chart at receiver. And Tom Kennedy has been active, like I said, the first 2 games as a practice squad elevation. But even undrafted rookie Isaiah Williams, who, there's a lot of high praise for. And again, he's another slot style receiver, shorter receiver. He has missed, this last weekend's game with an abdominal injury. So, the Lions have issues there too. Another guy that can do different things is being held out of games due to injury. So it could open a permanent spot for somebody like Tim Patrick to take over. Which brings me to the man of the video here, Tim Patrick. Look, the Lions brought in Patrick to add some size, right, to the room, and a playmaker that really has the talent to play at a very high level and has played at a very high level when healthy. He's coming off of 2 years worth of injuries and injury issues. The Lions don't know really what they have yet in Patrick. And I think Sunday was a solid identity marker, if you will, of what Tim Patrick could be moving forward. I thought he had a very productive day, even though he wasn't targeted a whole bunch. He only had a couple of catches for like 12 yards. But what I watched him do was be productive. Ran routes hard. Made it look like he was going to get the ball. He made the defense pay attention to him. And he was all over the field. So I really enjoyed what I saw out of Tim before the game, his pregame workout, and really spending a lot of time catching balls. He never dropped one. And that's part of his MO. He doesn't drop balls. But his first game was reassuring, right? Very intelligent. You can tell his understanding of the concepts and the route tree and the offense, top notch, man. I mean, he stepped right in, only being 2 weeks in the system. And I thought he played at a high level. Not much production, but he played at a high level. 2021 was the last season that Patrick really had significant playing time. He had 83 targets that season, 53 receptions, 734 yards, and 5 TDs. Very similar stat line to Josh Reynolds from last season. Now, Patrick is taller, bigger, right? Stronger than Reynolds was, providing the size and the style of play, that the Lions desperately are looking for. When this offense has a slow start like it does, something isn't right. And I think that the main component that's missing right now is a dependable X style receiver with a bigger body that can make the plays that the other guys can't, that can body up these DBs and these safeties, and Goff can throw the ball in there and he's going to come down with it, which is, again, another pass that Goff doesn't like to throw, but you got to do what you got to do. Now, Campbell said that Patrick could help take up some of the workload off of Raymond and Jameson Williams, who played 89% of the Lions' offensive snaps through 2 weeks. That's a ton for a receiver. And that is, he's got a physical stature. He's pretty enormous, according to Dan Campbell. Pretty enormous catch radius, my apology, according to Dan Campbell. Adds a different dimension to the Lions' offense. Dan Campbell was quoted as saying, "There's a place for him here. And yeah, I see us using him moving forward." What's funny is I said right before the game, sitting in the stands, and I posted the video, that this guy's got it. He deserves to play. And then after watching him throughout the game, I thought it'd be a no-brainer that this guy is going to end up making the 53-man roster sooner rather than later. He'll probably get called up one more time, and then, maybe even the third time, and then, elevated for the rest of the season is my guess, as long as he plays well and doesn't get injured, right? Now, Lions coach Dan Campbell also said that Patrick could be in for more playing time after he caught just 2 passes for 12 yards and played in 33 of the 85 offensive snaps. So right around 40% of the snaps on Sunday for his first real game back, in a regular season game after his recent injury. So You know, the Lions lost, but they still did some things good, but you could just tell, again, something's missing. And that's why this quote from Dan Campbell makes me feel a little bit better that each week they're going to be able to turn this thing around here. He said that we liked him. It was good to see. I would say that it was a positive showing to be able to get him out there and implemented in some of what we were doing. It'd be nice to get him a little more. But I think that that's what we'll be doing moving forward. I think the idea is to see if we can open this up a little bit and use him a little more. It's exactly what I see for Tim Patrick right now, and it's exactly what I see for the Detroit Lions offense. They need to find someone to step up in this fourth receiver position that is, sorely needed right now. I would argue the fact that Khalif Raymond should be the fourth receiver on this roster, not the third. You need to have two bigger receivers on this roster and, 3 slot guys. I think that that's an equally weighted way to go about the roster. And then you stash a couple of guys in the practice squad. Right now, the Lions are rolling with, all point guards. We don't have any centers. We need a couple of centers, we at least need a power forward, somebody that can go make some plays on the boundary, somebody that can go make some plays in the end zone, not taking any shots in the end zone at the end of this game. Is completely asinine to me. And I think that the reason is we didn't have anybody, apparently, not even Sam Laporta, that they trusted to go make a play in the end zone. What else could it be? Hopefully, that's Tim Patrick this Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals when he gets his second game action with the Detroit Lions. See you guys in the next one.